The elderly woman sat alone on a quiet hilltop, her wheelchair parked near the edge where the land dipped into rolling fields. Her hands rested lightly on the wheels, fingers tracing faint scratches from years of use. She gazed into the distance, lost in memories of a life once full of movement, galloping across open plains, wind whipping through her hair, freedom coursing through her veins. Now, she was trapped in a body that refused to obey, confined to a chair that felt more like a cage than a tool. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, but its beauty offered little comfort. Suddenly, a sound broke the silence. Hoofbeats, steady and deliberate. Out of nowhere, a wild Mustang appeared, stepping cautiously toward her. Its mane flowed like liquid gold under fading sunlight, and its dark eyes locked onto hers, as if drawn by some invisible force. Onlookers nearby froze, unsure what would happen next. Would fear or connection win? The Mustang paused mid-step, its ears twitching nervously as it studied the elderly woman. It had wandered far from its herd, driven by curiosity, or perhaps something deeper. The woman didn't move, afraid even the slightest gesture might scare it away. Her heart raced wildly, though her face remained calm. Memories flooded back. Days spent training horses, nights sleeping under starry skies, the bond she'd shared with animals who understood her without words. This moment felt surreal, almost dreamlike. Slowly, she extended a trembling hand, palm facing upward. The Mustang hesitated, nostrils flaring as it sniffed the air. For a brief second, doubt crept in. What if it bolted? But then, inch by inch, it stepped closer, its hooves crunching softly against dry grass. When its nose brushed her fingertips, warmth surged through her entire body. Tears welled in her eyes, not of sadness, but of recognition. Could this wild creature see the person she used to be? The Mustang lingered close, its presence both comforting and overwhelming. The elderly woman whispered softly, though her voice barely carried over the rustling grass. "You're not so different from me," she murmured, her tone tinged with irony. Both were survivors, she, battling time and frailty, the Mustang, roaming untamed despite dangers lurking everywhere. Nearby, onlookers watched in stunned silence, unsure how to interpret this unlikely meeting. One child tugged at their parent's sleeve, asking why the horse wasn't running away. No one had an answer. The woman reached out again, this time resting her hand gently on the Mustang's neck. Its muscles tensed briefly before relaxing, accepting her touch. In that moment, barriers dissolved. Age, species, circumstance no longer mattered. They were simply two souls seeking connection. Yet questions lingered. Why had the Mustang come? And could such fragile trust endure? As dusk settled, shadows stretched long across the hilltop, wrapping the scene in a soft glow. The Mustang stood still, its breathing slow and steady, mirroring the rhythm of the woman's own breaths. She closed her eyes, letting memories wash over her. Decades ago, she'd been fearless, a skilled rider known for taming even the wildest horses. Then came the accident that stole her mobility, leaving her dependent on others. Opening her eyes, she noticed faint scars crisscrossing the Mustang's legs, marks of battles fought and survived. Was that why it understood her pain? Without thinking, she began humming an old tune, one she used to sing while grooming her horses. To her astonishment, the Mustang responded, lowering its head slightly as if recognizing the melody. Onlookers exchanged glances, moved by the unspoken connection unfolding before them. Could music bridge worlds apart? Or was this fleeting magic destined to fade? Minutes turned into hours as the Mustang stayed by her side, neither fleeing nor retreating. The woman stroked its mane gently, marveling at its texture. Coarse yet alive with energy. Each touch seemed to awaken dormant parts of herself, reigniting sparks of confidence she thought extinguished forever. The Mustang nudged her hand softly, urging her to continue. Around them, the world grew quieter, stars beginning to twinkle faintly above. Onlookers lingered reluctantly, torn between staying to witness more and respecting the intimacy of the moment. Finally, they drifted away, leaving the pair alone. "You remind me of someone I knew," the woman said softly, her voice cracking with emotion. Perhaps it was herself, or maybe someone else entirely. Whatever the truth, the bond deepened with every passing second. Yet uncertainty lingered. How long would this connection last? And could it truly heal wounds buried so deeply? The hilltop fell silent, except for the soft rustle of grass swaying in the breeze. The Mustang stood close, its warm breath misting faintly in the cool night air. The woman felt a strange comfort in its presence. No words were needed between them. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small piece of bread she'd saved from lunch, offering it hesitantly. The Mustang sniffed cautiously before taking it gently, its lips brushing her palm. Onlookers who had returned quietly gasped at the tenderness of the moment. For the first time in years, the woman didn't feel invisible or forgotten. Instead, she felt seen not by people, but by this wild creature who chose to stay. As the stars brightened overhead, she whispered, "You're free to leave any time." But the Mustang didn't move. It lowered its head, resting it briefly on her shoulder as if saying, "I'm not going anywhere." Tears streamed down her cheeks, unbidden yet cleansing. Could this bond last, or was it just a fleeting gift? The next morning, sunlight bathed the hilltop in golden hues, waking both the woman and the Mustang from their quiet slumber. Birds chirped cheerfully nearby, but neither stirred immediately. The Mustang stretched lazily, shaking its mane as if shaking off doubts about staying near humans. The woman smiled faintly, recalling how she used to wake early to ride across open fields. Those days seemed impossibly distant now, yet the Mustang's presence brought them closer somehow. Slowly, she maneuvered her wheelchair toward the edge of the hill, gazing at the vast expanse below. The Mustang followed, standing beside her as if sharing her view. Its hooves scraped lightly against the earth, echoing memories of freedom she once cherished. Nearby, children giggled, pointing at the unlikely pair. One called out, "Why doesn't it run?" The woman replied softly, though only the Mustang heard, "Because we understand each other." Days passed, and the Mustang continued visiting the hilltop, always finding the elderly woman waiting patiently. Their connection deepened with every meeting. Gentle strokes along its neck, shared silences under starry skies, and moments of mutual trust that defied explanation. One afternoon, rain drizzled softly, dampening the grass but not their spirits. The woman extended her hand again, inviting the Mustang closer. This time it knelt slightly, lowering itself until its eye level matched hers. Her breath caught in her throat. Such an act of submission from a wild animal was unheard of. She touched its face tenderly, tracing faint scars etched into its skin. "We've both been hurt," she murmured, tears mingling with raindrops. Around them, nature seemed to pause, holding its breath. The Mustang exhaled softly, leaning into her touch. Healing wasn't just physical, it was emotional, spiritual, profound. Together, they began mending wounds neither could fix alone. Word spread quickly through the small town about the elderly woman and the Mustang. At first, skepticism reigned. How could a wild horse form such a bond with anyone, let alone someone confined to a wheelchair? Yet curiosity drew crowds daily to the hilltop, where they watched in awe as the pair interacted without hesitation or fear. Children pressed closer, whispering questions their parents couldn't answer. Elders nodded knowingly, recognizing something timeless in the connection. One day, a local journalist arrived, camera in hand, hoping to capture the phenomenon. The woman noticed but didn't object. The world deserved to witness this miracle. As the Mustang nuzzled her affectionately, the crowd erupted into applause, moved by the purity of their bond. Strangers began opening up too, sharing stories of loss and longing. Somehow, the Mustang's presence inspired everyone to seek healing, even those who hadn't realized they needed it. Though the Mustang stayed willingly, its wild instinct occasionally surfaced. One evening, a sudden noise startled it, a car backfiring nearby. With a sharp whinny, it bolted several paces away, muscles coiled tightly as if ready to flee forever. The woman froze, heart pounding wildly. Would it leave now? Slowly, she extended her hand again, speaking softly despite trembling hands. "It's okay," she said, her voice steady despite inner turmoil. Moments stretched endlessly before the Mustang relaxed, stepping cautiously back toward her. Relief washed over her like a wave. Onlookers held their breath, realizing how fragile yet resilient their bond truly was. That night, she reflected on barriers broken, not just between human and animal, but within herself. Fear no longer controlled her. Instead, love did. And so, the Mustang taught her courage anew. The bond between a woman and the Mustang became a beacon of hope for the entire town. People began gathering regularly on the hilltop, not just to watch but to share their own struggles. One man spoke of losing his job. Another recounted battling loneliness after retirement. The Mustang stood quietly beside the woman, its presence offering silent support. Children brought flowers, placing them around her wheelchair as tokens of admiration. Even skeptics softened, admitting they'd never seen anything like this before. One day, a young girl approached timidly, holding out a handful of grass. "Will it eat for me too?" she asked shyly. The woman nodded encouragingly. To everyone's amazement, the Mustang stepped forward, taking the offering gently. Cheers erupted, echoing across the fields. In that moment, the Mustang wasn't just hers. It belonged to everyone seeking connection and healing. As days turned into weeks, the woman found herself revisiting memories she thought buried forever. She told stories aloud to the Mustang about galloping through rainstorms, training stubborn colts, and nights spent sleeping under starlit skies. The Mustang listened intently, its ears swiveling toward her voice. Sometimes she'd hum old tunes or recite poetry inspired by her past adventures. Onlookers marveled at how animated she became, her eyes sparkling with life once lost. One evening, she shared a tale about a horse named Storm, a spirited stallion who taught her resilience. As if recognizing its name, the Mustang nickered softly, nudging her hand. Tears welled in her eyes. "You remind me so much of him," she whispered. Nearby, someone remarked, "Maybe it is Storm coming back to you." Though impossible, the idea lingered, warming her heart. The Mustang had awakened something precious within her, her identity as a rider, trainer, and lover of freedom. Freedom meant different things to different people. But for the woman and the Mustang, it transcended physical limitations. One sunny afternoon, she maneuvered her wheelchair closer to the edge of the hill, gazing at the open fields below. "Do you miss running free?" she asked softly. The Mustang whinnied faintly, pawing the ground as if answering yes. Yet it stayed by her side, choosing companionship over wildness. That night, she dreamed vividly of riding again, feeling wind rush past her face, hooves pounding rhythmically beneath her. When she woke, tears streamed down her cheeks. Was it longing or regret? The Mustang seemed to sense her sadness, resting its head on her lap. She stroked its mane, whispering, "Maybe freedom isn't gone, it's just changed." Together, they redefined what it meant to be unbound, proving that true liberation came from within. Communication between the woman and the Mustang transcended words. It was instinctual, primal, and deeply emotional. One morning, she noticed the Mustang limping slightly, favoring one leg. Concern washed over her instantly. "What happened?" she murmured, inspecting its hoof carefully. Though unable to explain verbally, the Mustang communicated clearly through gestures, pointing its nose toward nearby bushes where thorns clung to its fur. With trembling hands, she removed them gently, earning grateful nudges in return. Onlookers watched silently, moved by the depth of their connection. It wasn't just trust, it was partnership. Someone remarked, "They understand each other without speaking." Indeed, they did. Their bond proved that language wasn't necessary when hearts aligned perfectly. Every touch, glance, and movement carried meaning far beyond words. Though their bond deepened daily, challenges remained. One chilly morning, the Mustang grew restless, pacing anxiously near the edge of the hill. Its instinct screamed to run, to feel the wind rushing through its mane once more. The woman sensed its turmoil and sighed softly. "Go!" she urged, though her heart clenched painfully. For a moment, the Mustang hesitated, torn between freedom and loyalty. Then, with a powerful leap, it bolted downhill, hooves pounding rhythmically against the earth. Onlookers gasped, fearing it wouldn't return. But minutes later, it circled back, stopping directly in front of her. Panting heavily, it lowered its head apologetically. She smiled through tears, patting its neck. "I'll always wait for you," she promised. Together, they tested limits, not just a trust but a love, and emerged stronger each time. Strength wasn't measured by muscle or speed. It was found in moments of vulnerability and courage. One afternoon, the woman attempted to rise from her wheelchair, determined to stand, even briefly, beside the Mustang. Her legs trembled violently, refusing to bear weight. Frustration welled within her, threatening to overwhelm. Sensing her distress, the Mustang nudged her gently, steadying her with its body. Slowly, painstakingly, she managed to hold herself upright, leaning heavily against it. Tears streamed down her face, not from pain but triumph. Around them, onlookers cheered quietly, witnessing a miracle unfold. Though fleeting, the act symbolized resilience, a reminder that strength came in many forms. Together, they proved that even broken bodies have find power when supported by unwavering bonds. One crisp morning, something extraordinary happened. As the woman sat quietly on the hilltop, the Mustang stepped closer than ever before. To everyone's astonishment, it knelt slowly, lowering its massive frame until its head rested gently against her lap. The gesture was deliberate, a profound act of respect and recognition. Onlookers gasped audibly, some covering their mouths in disbelief. Tears streamed down the woman's face as she stroked the Mustang's mane, overwhelmed by the depth of its understanding. "You see me," she whispered hoarsely, her voice breaking under emotion. This wasn't just a wild animal. It was a mirror reflecting her inner strength, resilience, and humanity. For a fleeting moment, time seemed to stop. Hoof prints marked the earth beside tire tracks, symbolizing unity despite differences. It was grace incarnate, a reminder that love transcended barriers, species, and circumstance. Inspired by the bond unfolding before them, townsfolk began sharing stories of their own connections with animals. Loyal dogs, curious cats, even birds that visited daily. The Mustang had sparked something universal, a renewed appreciation for life's simplest yet most profound relationships. One elderly man brought an old saddle he'd kept for decades, offering it to the woman. "Maybe someday," he said softly, his eyes glistening. Though she couldn't ride now, the gift carried symbolic weight, a bridge between her past and present. That evening, she placed the saddle near the Mustang, watching as it sniffed curiously. Memories surged within her, vivid and bittersweet. She realized the Mustang wasn't just helping her heal, it was ensuring her legacy lived on. Together, they honored what once was while embracing what could still be. Healing wasn't forgetting, it was remembering with hope. As seasons changed, so did the landscape around them. Autumn painted the hills in fiery hues of red and gold, mirroring the warmth growing between the woman and the Mustang. Leaves crunched beneath hooves and wheels alike, creating a symphony of shared movement. One day, rain poured heavily, drenching everything in sight. Yet neither sought shelter. The Mustang stood steadfast beside her, shielding her slightly from the downpour. Water dripped from its mane, mingling with tears streaming down her cheeks. Someone remarked, "They're like reflections of each other." Indeed, they were. Both weathered storms, literal and metaphorical, with quiet determination. Around them, nature mirrored their journey, rivers flowing steadily, trees bending but not breaking, skies clearing after every storm. Their bond proved that resilience wasn't solitary. It thrived through connection. On a particularly cold winter morning, the Mustang performed an act so deeply emotional it left witnesses speechless. Sensing the woman struggled to maneuver her wheelchair through thick snow, it positioned itself carefully behind her, using its body to push gently. Slowly, inch by inch, they moved forward together. Gasps rippled through the crowd as realization dawned. This wild creature wasn't just staying out of curiosity, it was actively caring for her. When they finally reached level ground, the woman turned, tears freezing on her cheeks. "Thank you," she whispered, though no words could capture her gratitude. Nearby, children clapped excitedly, while adults wiped away tears. In that moment, the Mustang became more than a horse. It became a symbol of unconditional love, sacrifice, and mutual healing. Hearts melted, knowing such purity existed in the world. The Mustang's presence transformed not just a woman but the entire town. People who once passed each other without acknowledgement now greeted one another warmly, inspired by the pair's example. Community events sprang up, fundraisers to build better accessibility ramps, storytelling nights celebrating human-animal bonds, and art projects immortalizing the hilltop meetings. One mural depicted the Mustang kneeling beside the woman, surrounded by vibrant colors symbolizing hope and renewal. Even skeptics admitted, this changes things. Strangers became friends, united by shared awe and inspiration. The woman often reflected on how far they'd come. Not just her and the Mustang, but everyone touched by their story. Love had a ripple effect, spreading farther than anyone imagined. And at the center of it all stood two unlikely souls, proving that connection could heal even the deepest divides. Through the Mustang, the woman rediscovered freedom, not as physical liberation, but as emotional release. One evening, she closed her eyes, imagining herself atop the Mustang, galloping across endless fields. Though confined to her wheelchair, she felt unbound, carried by memories and dreams reignited. The Mustang seemed to sense her thoughts, pawing the ground rhythmically as if joining her imaginary ride. Onlookers smiled knowingly, realizing the depth of their shared experience. Someone remarked, "Freedom isn't about where you go, it's about who you're with." Indeed, true freedom lay in connection, trust, and love. Together, they defied limitations, proving that hearts could soar even when bodies couldn't. Every hoofprint marked progress. Every breath celebrated resilience. They were free, not because of movement, but because of spirit. Though the bond deepened daily, the Mustang remained wild at heart. One morning, it lingered longer than usual, nuzzling the woman affectionately before stepping back. Its dark eyes held a mixture of gratitude and resolve. She understood instantly. It was time. "Go!" she whispered, her voice steady despite trembling hands. With one final glance, the Mustang turned and bolted downhill, disappearing into the horizon. Silence fell over the hilltop, broken only by soft sobs. Yet sadness mingled with gratitude. For weeks, months, it had chosen her. Onlookers comforted her, reminding her of the miracle they'd witnessed. Though gone, the Mustang left an indelible mark, a legacy of love, healing, and unity. It taught her that goodbyes weren't endings. They were beginnings wrapped in memory. Weeks passed, and though the Mustang didn't return, its presence lingered everywhere. Hoofprints etched into the earth remained visible, even after rains washed them faintly. The woman visited the hilltop daily, finding solace in shared memories. Children still brought flowers, placing them reverently near her wheelchair. One day, a young girl approached timidly, holding a drawing of the Mustang kneeling beside her. "I'll never forget," she said softly. Neither would anyone else. The Mustang had become a symbol of hope, resilience, and connection, a reminder that love transcended boundaries. As twilight settled, the woman gazed at the horizon, imagining the Mustang running free. Her heart swelled with pride, knowing part of her lived on in its spirit. Bonds endured beyond lifetimes, carried forward through stories and shared experiences. Years later, the hilltop remained a sacred place, a testament to an unforgettable encounter. A plaque now marked the spot, reading, "Where a wild heart met a kindred soul, proving love knows no bounds." Visitors came from afar, inspired by tales of the Mustang and the woman who redefined freedom. Though she eventually passed away, her legacy endured. Children grew up sharing her story, passing it down through generations. One day, a descendant returned to the hilltop, spotting a lone Mustang grazing nearby. Its mane shimmered gold under sunlight, reminiscent of the original miracle. Was it coincidence or something deeper? Regardless, the message was clear. Connections formed and love lasted forever. Together, they proved that sometimes the most powerful bonds are forged when we least expect them, and leave legacies that inspire us all.